and the general difficulty make it fit right in with Bathurst challenges. However, the toughest portions are undoubtedly along the mountain itself, with notorious corners like the Cutting, Brock Skyline, the Dipper, and Forest Elbow. In fact, one of the more unique worries of this course is that all of these parts are so narrow that track blockages due to wrecks are not uncommon in the first few laps. The Australian fans often line the fences and hillsides to witness the daredevil spectacle of drivers trying to claim King of the Mountain. You can't blame them with how rare of a sight a track like Bathurst is today. Well, the mountain might be a very simple name, but this track, DJ, is a beast of a circuit.
It certainly is, Joe. Really and truly, it may look pretty simple there on the first part of it, coming from Hell Corner all the way up to Griffin's Bend. But from Griffin's Bend on, it is running like a street course up and down this mountain. Walls very close on either side, from the Cutting all the way up through Solomon Reed and McPhillamy Park. And then the ever foreboding Skyline, the drop down through the S's and through the Dipper. But it is very, very crucial here, however important it is, to be able to get everything right through that section. You've got to nail the exit out of Forest Elbow to be able to set up a pass down the Conrad Straight and into the chase. A very tricky area to be able to get all that done, but it's exactly what these drivers are going to have to do out there today.
And they'll have to do it a few times, even though it's a bit of a short race. Before we get to that race, we want to remind you that this series is brought to you by Porsche. There is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And also, Sunset Mortgage. Don't put your money in the bank. Be the bank. Check them out today at sunsetcash.net. As well as Octavio Tequila. Celebrate now. For a great tasting tequila, go to octaviotequila.com and purchase today. And finally, Rogers Financial. You retire once, we retire people every day. For all of your financial planning needs, contact Rogers Financial today at rogersfinancial.info. So, championship, as I mentioned, has been settled in the case of Tom Layton being crowned champion now. So, nothing can be done about that top spot. But Corey Latvala, if he gets a win, whatever happens behind him with the rest of the drivers, they cannot catch him. Mathematically, it goes down to Bolton there in fifth place that can manage to overtake him. But that'll take some extenuating circumstances from Michael. Otherwise, you're looking at Travis and Johnson to be able to try and overtake him. They're the closest and most likely to try and do something. More than likely, what we're going to see is a battle for third and those top spots. However, keep an eye on BJ Fulton, Jacob Abrams, Sam Mayorga, and Michael Ost, as well as Doug Baccignone. All of them in very close range to one another as well in this series. So let's take a look at the race details, DJ, for another of our events.
Well, it is the sprint format here today, so that means it's going to be a 30-minute race in round 23 of 25. All drivers out on track at the Porsche 911 GT3R, so plenty of horsepower underneath these cars, but crucially, a little bit of aero wash that they're going to have to worry about coming up and down over the mountain. Also crucial out here today, it is going to be open setup, so you can tweak and tune the cars depending on what you want to do. We've heard a lot of conversations with these drivers about different styles of wing that they're going to be running around here, but this is a pretty open series in terms of friendship, so don't look for a lot of hiding of secrets necessarily.
Indeed, and I got to think with how brutal this track is, it's more going to be about down to the driver and less about that setup for the speed, just trying to keep the car whole until you get to the checkered flag. With only 30 minutes and over 2 minutes per lap, we're looking at just about 14 to 15 laps around this track over the course of the race. It's not going to be too many times up and down the mountain, but each time is going to be harrowing. But Tom Layton so far, as he has for much of the season, has had the measure of things. He's gotten the most poles, and he's not being touched today. It's 0.6 of a second down to Corey Latvala, who's trying to take that second place in the championship, and he's in second on the timing sheets currently. Michael Johnson's not doing too bad, considering qualifying's not been one of his strengths, DJ. He's up in third currently.
Yeah, he's headed out on track right now to give it another run here. Looks like he's going to be headed out just behind Michael Bolton there. Maybe hoping to get a little bit of the toe coming down the mountain in Conrad Straits, but certainly a good position for him, and certainly close running really there from second all the way back. Only seen a couple of tenths as Ost is now able to jump ahead of Michael W. Johnson.
Yeah, and I tell you what, Michael Bolton is coming when it comes to that third and second place fight, especially on Michael Johnson. He's outscored Johnson. I think it looks like, from what I can see on the stats here, and I think it's 7 out of the last 8 races. So he is rushing up the order, and he's had a lot of podiums recently. So he is certainly one that is not to be trifled with. Poor Travis Brown, though, has been missing lately, and he is not here once again. So he's going to lose out on points, offering Michael Bolton a chance to at least jump into fourth here today. As we watch them carry on around the mountain. Ooh, things getting very close, coming up over the ridge there, as that was BJ Fulton, who was just testing the limits along with Latvala. So we ride on board with Corey, and he is a little over the limit and into the wall, unfortunately, into Skyline. So that's going to be that for that qualifying lap. He should have enough time to get around for one more if he really wants to try and get a flyer to pass up Leighton, but we'll see if he can do that, because there goes Leighton across the line and extends it further. A 2:02.4 now puts him at 7 tenths away. Ost is not out on the track. He still has time if he wants it. He's overtaken Michael Johnson, who is just coming to the line now. So things certainly swapping around pretty frequently here, as that's Bolton crossing behind him. He doesn't go quicker, neither does Johnson. They come around Hell Corner to start their next flyer.
And here they go as we keep our eyes right now on BJ Fulton, trying to be able to improve here. I do see a quick sector in sector 1 for him, so this could be a little bit of a good lap for the 4:23. Let's see how he's able to get there out of that final corner. Little bit of a wide run onto the grass, but that shouldn't hurt him too much. He's going to come across the line, though, at 2:03.5. That's not going to be an improvement.
So he heads back up the hill as well, as we switch back here to Mark Rondeau. He's in 7th currently, and it looks like he is on an out lap, so this one not going to count for him. He's only had a single lap count, actually, and that was his very first one. So let's check out Doug Baccignoni, who's put in a few more than that that have counted for him. But again, his first lap of this qualifying session that counted was his quickest of 2:03.8. So Doug, who has not seen the podium since around 5, is really hungry for this one, and that is an improvement at a 2:03.6, up to 6th place now for the 59.
Yeah, good qualifying runs continuing here for the number 59 in that very, very bright green machine that we are used to seeing around here. Doug has really been punching above his weight in the last, I would say, 8 to 10 rounds of this season, but doing a fantastic job to be able to pull himself forward, and it's really been showing here in his results.
As we watch now, Michael Johnson down the Conrad straight and into the chase. Can he keep this one steady? He's been trying to get up to the higher spots in those that qualifying order for pretty much the entire season. At times he's been successful, but then seems to slip back downwards and then try and fight his way forwards in most of the races. As he looks to cross the line, that was very wide. It did count, but it was not faster, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's going to be a couple of tenths off of his best time there, unfortunately. Looks like about 4.5 tenths off. He will get a nice little draft here from John Momeyer, so that'll be helpful to him. But we'll have to see what he is able to do if he's going to be able to catch John. The reverse of this is going to be that he could get held up a little bit here coming up and over the mountain, and that's the last thing that he wants.
Oh, and he was. That unsighted him under braking into Griffin's Bend. And yeah, he's going to park it because this is his last available lap. He knows he can't improve. So that's it for him. No better than 4th for Michael Johnson. Still, I think that's decent. And the 22 is not going to find that one decent. That was into the wall at one point for him. He carries on, I guess, just for the practice. He might be the first to take the checkered flag here because we got 30 seconds left, and he's just coming around Forrest's elbow.
Yeah, he's just coming down, and looking at my track map, I do believe that is going to be him. Here's John Momeyer. Looks like somebody's had a problem coming down through Skyline. Not entirely sure who that was, but you could see the smoke getting kicked up there as a result of it. So Momeyer's going to bring the car down. Currently about 3 seconds off of the best time on the day, but he's been setting some personal bests here. So look for John maybe to move his way up through the order a little bit.
Ooh, he was struggling coming around Forrest's elbow. He's still up on his best lap. He's not been having a great time with this circuit. Seems like a bit of a weakness for John. And let's see if he can at least improve on that 2:09.5. Yeah, he's a ways off of the nearest driver. So hopefully he will be able to at least get close enough to Jacob Abrams, or maybe even overtake him here in this Q session. As the time is up and the checkered flag is out for the first car to approach, which is indeed going to be John Momeyer, but he abandons the lap. He doesn't like it and will not improve.
Yeah, he's going to bring it down into pit lane, and thankfully, because this is a sprint race, we're not going to have to worry about pit lane entry here. There, as we see the number 73 of Michael Ost also pulling down in, and pretty thankful that this isn't going to be a race where you've got to worry about that pit lane entry, because it can be brutal, Joe.
Well, they better hope that they don't have to worry about it. They might have to come in for a spare car at some point, so that could be an issue. Leighton looks like he is on a flying lap, but I see him off of his best time, and he's the last one to take the checkered flag here. This is going to be a 2:03.2. That's not going to do it. That is well off of his personal best, which means our grid is now set here. And we only have 12 drivers here today. Not surprised that it scared a few of them off. But Tom Leighton is your pole sitter. Corey Lotvola starts in P2, and Michael Ost will start from third position. After that, it is Michael Johnson who begins in the fourth spot. BJ Fulton, P5 for him on the side of Doug Baccignoni at the outside of that third row. Brian Salehi comes back to start from seventh here today. He hasn't shown up a lot this season, but his sudden return is certainly welcome. Mark Rondeau will begin from eighth as Jad Duncan starts P9. Michael Bolton, bit of a bad qualifying for him, all the way down in 10th, and Jacob Abrams and John Momeyer round out your 12 cars in this field here today. So we are getting ready to grid up 30 minutes around this track, and late in the season where you know where you stand, DJ, I almost feel like this is going to send a few drivers into a bit of caution if they feel they're in a comfortable spot, knowing they don't want to ruin a race by chucking it into the wall needlessly this track.
Well, that's a little bit of a double-edged sword around here, Joe, because I've talked to a lot of drivers that tell you you've still got to be driving the mountain at about 9/10 in order to not make those mistakes. It requires such precision that even backing off just a little bit can throw off your rhythm and really throw you for a loop. So it's kind of that give and take you have to give. You want to be careful, you want to be a little bit cautious, but you don't want to back off so much that it's going to throw you off.
Cars already starting to grid up and work their way out there. We do have one onboard cam for us today. Tom Leighton has joined us in the number 97. And last time out, we got to see him take the championship. So with a little bit of intensity in the previous case, wonder if this time he'll maybe be a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more at ease around the circuit. We'll watch and check in with him a couple times if we have the ability. And there you can see he's watching the broadcast and knows that T is popped up on the feed. So there they are, all lined up. 6 rows of cars ready to go here at the mountain.
All right, and the Porsche pace car leading this field of Porsches to the green. We got to come around the cutting here to get everything to go. But Joe, once that green flag flies, it is going to be a fantastic run here for 30 minutes.
It's going to be thrilling regardless. Just watching a driver lap around here at full tilt is exciting to witness. So stick around, because even if the cars get far apart, there is stuff to see and watch here today. Tom Leighton is going to have control of the field now that the pace car is off. He waits patiently for the green flag. Corey Lotvilla beside him, hoping to try and at least beat him a couple more times, assuredly, at the late end of the season as the green flag is out. And Tom Layton gets a decent start as they fly down towards Hell Corner. Still to his outside, Corey Lotvilla holds tough, and he's not going to be able to hold on for very long. Boccioni gets a bad run through that first corner as he falls backwards a bit, but otherwise they are clean up the hill on the mountain straight.
Yes, they are. Michael W. Johnson holding a good line there around the outside of Hell Corner to be able to get the run on Michael Ost. They're still going to be side by side coming down into the corner. Johnson a little bit later on the binders, able to make that purple number 9 get into position as they all go single file up through Griffin's Bend.
Nice job by Michael to gain that spot. That could be critical, especially here coming up the mountain now, as it's hard to pass from here. Salehi is up too as they head out of the cutting and start to climb through the various parks. This is where things are very fast and narrow. One little slip up can get you immense damage. And on the first lap, we can see track blockages, so they have to be heads up here.
Yeah, you've got to be very, very careful here. You do not want to be aggressive at this point coming up and down the mountain. You do not want to be too wide. You just want to be able to focus in, as I said earlier, and keep your eyes ready for the runoff of Forest Elbow.
It was a very bad start for Marc Rondeau. He was down 3 spots, unfortunately, is down into 11th. He's at a single podium so far this season. This would be a good spot for him to get another if he can keep it together as they now come down the Conrad as well, looking for the chase. Tom Layton leads by about 0.3 of a second over Corey Lotvilla, so Corey's keeping touch with him, and that slipstream could definitely help him in that process throughout this race.
Yeah, it certainly could. It's a lot of long straightaways here, but again, you've got to be able to keep within about a second coming up and over the mountain. That is the crucial part. 1 lap down, though, for Corey Lotvilla, about 2 minutes in the books, and a challenge accepted. He has been able to do exactly what he needs to do, and he looks like he is threatening Tom Layton here.
Yeah, he's hovering right behind, showed his nose a little bit coming into Hell Corner. Could he get enough of a slipstream? Because he looked very good out of the chase, got right up behind him. And yeah, look at him ride in the tire tracks of that 97 car as he weaves across the track to try and break the slipstream. But it's no use. It seems that 0.2 of a second comes down to a very small gap there at the end of the straight. Not close enough to pass, though, this time.
Not quite close enough to be able to do that. They are starting to get a little bit of a gap between themselves and Michael W. Johnson here at this point, so that's going to be some good news for Corey. He's not going to be having to look out of his rearview mirror. He's going to be able to just focus ahead and try to keep close to Tom in front.
Back up to the top of the mountain once again. Michael Johnson just hovering behind the pair of them. Ost also doing a good job. He lost that 3rd place, but he's still in touch. I'm curious to see if Salehi, who's known to have some good speed on a good day, if he could try and narrow in on them. Look at them just accordion together, a little puff of smoke with a tiny lock for Tom Layton, but really no harm done on that one. Now they head into Forest Elbow, another spot where you tend to see cars lock up, and look at how close Lotvilla is able to get to that rear bumper.
He was all over the back of Tom Layton there, very, very close. I was actually worried there was going to be a little bit of contact there in between, and you can see he lost a little bit of time here coming down the Conrad Straight. I think it may have been a better idea for Corey to have backed up the corner a little bit more and tried to get an attack on Tom that way.
No dice so far behind them. Michael Ost got within 1/10 of a second of Johnson. It's the Michael and Michael show there for 3rd place, so got to keep half an eye on that in the background as they approach the final corner once again. And still Tom Layton will lead Corey Lotvilla. Wonder if we could take a look at Tom's camera here to see if he's watching those mirrors at all, and maybe poking his eyes over to make sure that Corey doesn't get a run on him, as once again they're going to head up the mountain straight.
Yeah, here they go again. There you can see Tom pretty focused in, looking to see maybe a quick glance behind there just as they come over the crest of that ridge. He knows he's not going to be under pressure here from Corey at this point, so he's just going to be able to focus ahead. Another glance behind there. He's doing this at all the right places here, Joe.
Yeah, just keeping tabs on that driver behind him, making sure that doesn't try anything sneaky. Hearing that Momeyer's gone into pit lane, I suspect that may have been for damage because he has no other reason to visit. And I'm double checking. I'm not seeing where he may have hit the wall. Oh, it looks like it may have been the cutting last lap. So that's what caught him out. They do have spare cars, so he can get back out there and try and carry on from here. Look at them weaving back and forth between these walls, leaving just inches up to that concrete.
It will never fail to amaze me, Joe, just the way that they are able to push the limits on this track, come right up to the edge of making contact and not physically making contact. It is absolutely incredible, the concentration of these drivers.
Yeah, when you consider the fact that this is a track that scared the bejeebus out of Darrell Waltrip, a NASCAR driver from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So he saw his fair share of danger. That tells you something. Meanwhile, laughing in the face of danger, Michael Ost is going to be able to go by Michael Johnson. A little bit of a tap between them, but he makes a successful overtake.
And that's one of the key areas to be able to make that overtake coming down into the chase. That's just a good standard draft move. Now we're going to have to see if Michael W. Johnson's going to be able to keep up behind Ost here. He runs a little bit wide on the exit of Murray's corner, but he's able to hold it together.
So looks like Ost has that spot back. Oh, but he goes a little wide coming off of Hell Corner. I think Michael Johnson might have this one retaken with ease. He's got a lot more speed on the mountain straight. He's going to be on the outside into Griffin's Bend unless he can cut back across or maybe break deep. Does he have the top end speed here? He might regret the amount of wing that he put in. He breaks as long and as late as he can go, and it looks like he is through.
Yeah, he's going to be able to get that done nice and easy, but look at that gap that has already started to develop here at this point. 3.5 seconds up to Corey Lockville and Tom Layton. That is a monstrous gap. And Bayan Salehi right on the back of Michael Ost. That is exactly what you do not want to have happen. You don't want to have a 2-car battle turn into a 3-car battle.
Yeah, Bayan is loving this. I wondered whether or not he's going to have good speed today, and it looks like, whoa, was that a little clip of the wall there from Michael Ost as the rear of the car wobbles? I see some damage on the rear wing on my screen, but it doesn't look all that apparent here on the feed, so maybe he got away with it.
Yeah, I see a little bit of damage there as well on the rear right wing of that car. So where that's really going to affect him, Joe, is going to be on these long straightaways, as that's another clobber into the wall.
Oh, now he is struggling, this time coming out of Forest Elbow, and this time he definitely got it. I went back and looked at the other one coming up through Solomon Park, and he did clip it on my screen, but maybe he didn't on his. Now we're seeing it. Yeah, now we're seeing on the feed that he's got that damage on the right-hand side where he hit both times. Salehi's got to watch out because, yes, he could get a spot from Ost with those mistakes, but he also could be easily collected up in his accident.
Yeah, it could very, very well be easily wrapped up, and it looks like here the Bayan Salehi has recognized that that car is not handling all that well in front of him, and he is trying to press his advantage here. He's going to look to the inside here, coming down the pit straightaway, going to try to make the move, going down into Murray's corner.
Oh, he backs out of it, and with that shallow line, there's a very compromised exit for him. We ride on board. This just keeps cascading backwards. BJ Fulton is now catching him as well, but I don't see any of them close enough to get an overtake coming up into the braking for Griffin's Bend. And indeed, as they now hit that, yep, everybody's going to stay in line. I think we might have a replay on that pass between Johnson and Ost. Why don't we take a look at that, since it seems like things have now finally calmed down just a little bit, and see if they actually did touch or if this was just a little trick of the eye.
All right, let's take a look here as they come down into the corner. As we said, this is a pretty standard fair draft pass coming down into the cutting. there it is. Johnson's going to back off just a little bit. Let's keep an eye and see if there was a little bit of contact. I think they may have avoided it there, Joe. It doesn't look like there's any damage on the rear wing at that point at any rate.
Oh, and Brian Salehi, he's out of it. It looks like Solomon Park, and we got a couple others. I think that was Abrams. Jacob Abrams, yes, it was. And then, was that Mark Rondeau getting a piece of it?
Yes, I believe the number 11 has got some pretty hefty damage to the front of that car, so that is going to be part of it as well. Abrams in a whole bad shape. He's going to make contact with the wall once again.
Oh, yeah, and Salehi has decided he wants no further part. He's taken a tow and then exited the race. Here's his incident at Solomon Park. Too much of the inside curb, smacks the outside, and there's just not enough runoff if you get speared off to the other side.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we talked about. Now, this is going to be the replay of what happened to Jacob Abrams here. He gets a little bit of that outside grass and just enough to send him around. Heavy impact into the wall, and there is the problem with the number 11 as well. Just left with nowhere to go was Mark Rondeau.
And Baccignone hit him hard enough that he is now in pit lane to take his spare car. So that affected 3 drivers. That is what we're talking about needing to watch out and keep yourself careful around other cars, because even if you didn't do anything wrong, somebody could just involve you in their own incident. Corey Lotful is now 3 seconds behind. He's at a 2:04 and a 2:05. I wonder if he just lost the slipstream here, because it's not something where it looks like he had one major mistake.
Yeah, I think that could be what happened. I noticed about a lap ago that he was about a second or so behind. I'm looking back at some of his lap times. His last lap time was a 2:05, so I think there may have been a little bit of a mistake there that sent him out.
Well, it's been 14 wins so far. Last week was the most recent for Tom Layton. Can he make it 15 out of 23? It's been just an incredible amount of stats that he has been racking up today. Abrams in pit lane. Momire is actually going to maybe gain some spots out of this. Rondeau was able to get in and out pretty quickly, though, before Momire was able to return. So he'll stay put. As on screen here, we watch Tom Layton approach the chase once again. We're on lap 6, so we're just about halfway through this thing already. As he's going a little deep into there, and we have seen mistakes out of Tom before. Those 3.5 seconds ahead of Latvala are not completely safe. If he spins or has a serious off track, he could lose the lead.
Yeah, he certainly can be wicked to a mistake there, as we see Corey Lotful making a little bit of a mistake of his own there, running a little bit wide coming down through Murray's Corner. And this is a track that we've talked about. It can constantly keep you on your toes, but look at this. BJ Fulton now getting involved in this battle.
Yeah, after Michael Ost had been briefly ahead of Michael Johnson, he lost it so quickly and then smacked the wall. His concentration affected, and it looks like maybe even his straight line speed has been damaged, because here comes Fulton up the mountain straight. He's got a nice toe, but he backs out before the braking zone.
Yeah, as he's going to not go for it there. Let's see what they're able to do as they come up through the cutting right now. He's not going to have a move there. I think BJ is just holding back here, waiting to see if he can find an opportunity to be able to get past here in one of these next corners.
And just look at him back off a little bit. Wonder if he's trying to give some space to Michael, just to make sure in case he has another one of those errors that he doesn't slam into that blue, white, and black machine. They're safe around, sort of safe. Oh no, BJ Fulton is not safe. He runs into the wall hard, and he's thankfully going to be out of the racing line, so Jad Duncan does not run into him. And it looks like he's going to try to drive it home, but surely he's going to have to come into the pits for that.
Yeah, I think that's going to be enough damage that he's going to have to come into the pits here at this point. As we watch him coming down the hill, you can see that little puff of brake smoke, and there is the damage. Big, hefty lick on the front of that car, and that is not only going to affect the aerodynamics, but that is probably going to be affecting the suspension as well.
Well, this car is struggling Yeah, he talked about that suspension there. It looks like it is indeed pretty damaged. And he's going to be overtaken by, I think that is Michael Bolton, yeah, behind him, starting to catch up. I was about to say the car that went by him. Whoa, and Jacob Abrams with another issue. And what looks like Griffin's Bend heading up to the cutting. He's going to get it turned around before another driver approaches, and he'll be on his way. I was going to say Jad Duncan went by on BJ Fulton and was promoted to 5th. That means he's up 4 spots. So is Michael Bolton, I'm now seeing actually on my sheet. Both of them using that tortoise versus everybody else's hair, which has gotten them a lot of headache and damage from the walls.
Yeah, it certainly has, Joe. And to your point a little bit earlier, BJ Fulton indeed coming down into pit lane here at this point. He's going to be getting that spare car and really and truly just finding your rhythm around this circuit. That is the biggest thing that you can take away here. If you are able to find the rhythm, it doesn't matter what speed you're going, as long as you are within a competitive measure. If you are able to find that and not lose it, that is a key to victory.
And if it tells you just how tough this track is, half of the field now has been in pit lane. We do still have 11 left, so I'm glad to see that many of them are still trying. But 1st through 6 are the only ones that have not been down to take either repairs or just simply hop in the spare car and get back out there. Doug Boccioni, the highest of those that have had to visit pit lane that we have on screen here in the number 59. He's about 13 seconds back of Michael Bolton.
Yeah, he's going to have a lot to do as we see John Momeyer coming back down into pit lane here at this point. Looks like he's going to be getting another spare car here as they go. So Momeyer having a very rough run.
Be the first one to take a second visit to pit lane. Everybody else has only been there once, which is kind of amazing considering we saw Abrams have that wild moment as well, which, speaking of which, there he goes now. Just flashed by the screen as Momeyer comes out. That's a battle for 10th place.
Yes, it is. So we've got a little bit of a battle starting to shape itself up here. And for Abrams, what he's going to have to do is he is just going to have to focus up ahead and not let himself get distracted by the driver behind. That is so easy to do when you're coming up and over the mountain. Just a quick look in the rearview mirror as you're coming through McPhillamy Park or Solomon Park, and that is enough to break that concentration, throw that rhythm off. You've got to just ignore any car coming up behind you.
Trying to do some math here, which thankfully I do have a spreadsheet that kind of does it for me, and figure out if Michael Johnson needs to overtake Corey Lotvilla to still be in the hunt for this one, because this would put them at Lotvilla at 251 points and Johnson at 196. So that is pretty far away. 51 points. I think that's still within range for Michael Johnson if things finish as they are. But he's going to lose 3 points to him, and that'll certainly make it all the more difficult in the final 2 races with double points in the next one, which is really going to be the critical one as to what decides the positions for the last bit of the season. There we see him flying down through the S's. Johnson looking like he is actually quite skilled at this track between both his qualifying and the race. Up 1 position, looking for a potential podium, with Michael Ost now firmly out of his slipstream, about 2.2 seconds behind.
Yeah, he's going to be having this. Oh, I think that's Jacob Abrams off and into the wall once again. That looks like it's down into the cutting there. Some hefty damage on that car. Yeah, that looks like some steering problems there for him. It's probably the front suspension a little bit bent out of shape.
Yeah, through the chase, it's like he lost control coming in, and that slid him all the way through the gravel and into that tire barrier. So down he goes, and we'll now take a 3rd visit into pit lane. Unfortunately, Momeyer's probably happy about that because he is now going to be well clear, and it's going to be, a 2nd visit for Jacob Abrams. It is a 2nd visit for Momeyer that we saw earlier. Got those 2 confused on that one. There is the number 6. Whoa, it goes a little wide coming out of Griffin's Bend. Easy to do that as the car tends to like to understeer through that corner.
Yeah, it tends to slip and slide there a little bit. We check back in on the leader here. Tom Layton up at the front of the field right now, continuing to run. He's going to have something new to start to contend with. That is going to be John Momeyer directly up ahead of him, and that's going to be some lap traffic he has to deal with.
All right, he looks pretty focused right now as he flies through. Man, look at how close he gets to those walls. I mean, I know that's the racing line. I've driven this place in the sim myself, but still, it seems scary to watch some of these faster guys fly down through here. Ooh, and here is the problem. He probably takes a lot of these corners faster than Momeyer. This could be a serious issue.
Yeah, and remember when I talked about you start to find yourself slowing down a little bit, that can throw off your rhythm. It looks like he's able to get through it nice and easily here at this point, and now he's going to be able to get into the draft and probably pull himself out ahead of John Momeyer.
Yeah, he's pulling him in, and Momeyer not going to defend it at all, naturally. He sees him coming, sees the blue flags, and he allows him past. So Momeyer and Abrams are the two that have been put a lap down. It's going to be a little while before he gets to BJ Fulton. We'll need to see some more incidents from drivers ahead if we'll see anybody else lapped here, because we're down to less than 10 minutes to go. So probably only about 5 more laps, and this thing wraps up.
Where does the time go, Joe? It absolutely flies on by here. But yeah, as you said, Layton probably not going to have to worry too much. As there you can see down the mountain straight, doesn't look like he's got anybody else in front of him, so he'll be on some smooth sailing there. There is Corey Lotfula. You can see coming into the picture behind. We'll have to see if he's able to catch up in behind and get one of these battles starting to fire off here. I'm noticing that times are really starting to rise here for a lot of the drivers. We were seeing 2:03s earlier on in the race. It's now down in the 2:04s. So drivers clearly backing off here as much as possible, trying to be as careful as they can.
Yeah, and there you see the time differences as, well, Momeyer, I think, did the right thing there as he towed as soon as he wrecked into the cutting, not wanting to cause anybody coming up behind to end their race prematurely. So Abrams going to get that spot now, even after he had to visit pit lane in extra time. And that means that actually, I wonder if we're going to see Momeyer get back out there, because they only have 2 spare cars. So John might have used his up at this point, and the 6 might find himself with a DNF today. No, he shouldn't, because he completed half the race. So he is good on that. Wow. Corey Lotfula is still hustling this car in hopes that maybe he can catch up to Tom Layton. He was very nearly into the wall out of Forest Elbow.
Yeah, very, very close, and he is just continuing to push here, and credit to him for doing so, as we're going to come to the line here with about 7 minutes and 15 seconds left to go in this race, and about 6 seconds separating Lotfula and Layton. But I respect the fact that Corey's not giving this up. As we said, we know Tom is not free of making mistakes. We've seen him make a mistake or two earlier on in the season, and I think Corey knows that if that mistake happens, he needs to be in a position to absolutely pounce.
But we're starting to see more mistakes out of Corey. You could see him wiggling once again on his way through Murray's corner. So it kind of swings both ways in this case, it seems like, because behind him, Michael Johnson about 3.5 seconds back, and then O's still clinging. And I want to give credit to that number 73 here, DJ, because he had those 2 hard slaps in a single lap, and yet it seems like we haven't seen many more mistakes like that out of him since. So he's really adapted to the car extremely well, because he's also kept pace with Johnson.
Yeah, he's done a fantastic job. It's like he almost needed to get those mistakes out of his system and just get rid of them and then be able to plow on ahead. And that's another problem that we haven't talked about here, Joe. Because of the undulating nature of this circuit, you are almost guaranteed to get at least one spot on the track where you're going to be blinded by the sun. Here it looks like it's coming up through Reed Park as we are getting in the latter half of the day. Looks like just about 7 o'clock virtual standard time. And so that sun blinding in the driver's eyes, and it's certainly going to throw them off as they come up with the first part of the mountain.
Absolutely, especially if they have their settings really up and cranked up. They'll see that that glare, and it can upset your vision, even though it is a sim. They try to make it as real as possible here on iRacing, and that includes taking that into account. So Michael Johnson down the hill. He's lost some time to Ost. He's actually gaining on him a little bit. Double checking last lap. Ost was about 1/10 of a second faster. This one's going to be a little bit more than that unless Ost has another problem. So Michael Johnson down through the chase. That one was nice and tidy through there. So let's see if he's able to at least finish up this lap pretty well. Down to 5 minutes left to go now as he rounds that last corner. 2:04.7 on the last lap, 2:04.6, so a little bit quicker, but it's a 2:04.5 for Ost. So he gains another 1/10 of a second, and the couple laps before that, he was slower. So, wow, I said that he was buckling down, and he really was, as behind them, John Momeyer was able to make enough repairs to return to the track.
Well, credit there to John. That car looks relatively intact here at this point, so he's clearly able to get himself back on and going. He will be scored in 11th place here, as it does look like Bayan Salehi is going to be a DNF on the day.
And I wonder, I just saw Jacob Abrams look like he went through pit lane. I wonder if he actually wound up going over the incident limit. Not often we see that in this series. They do have to go through at 17, and then every 5 more than that, they'll get another drive-through penalty before they actually get disqualified at 34. And we have seen Abrams with a few problems here today. So we'll have to double-check to see if that was the case. So he climbs up the hill. Both he and Momeyer still the only two that have been lapped in this race. And Tom Layton is actually, I think, almost a full Conrad straight behind BJ Fulton, who's the next one back in the 423 car. Here is Tom on your screen. I think this time by the line, it's going to be 2 to go.
I believe that is right based off of my calculations, but never trust a commentator's math. So we'll have to see exactly what that shakes out to. But a good run here for Tom Layton, but unfortunately he's got still 2 more laps to do on one of the most difficult circuits in the entire world. So he is by no means out of the woods yet, as it looks like Jacob Abrams has had another problem coming up and over Skyline.
Ooh, he's in a bad place, but he's got nobody coming. And he's able to get it pointed forward. So, yeah, he should be able to limp that back, and he's not a danger to anybody currently. So hopefully that's not an issue. You know, it's funny that GSRC curse of just not being able to do math during broadcast. I'm afraid to say, DJ, it continues after you leave the company, because Sean Ambrose, when I was on an iRacing broadcast with him recently, couldn't even do math behind the scenes.
Well, it's good to know that it continues on no matter where you go. I think it's just something about being a GSRC commentator that the math skills fail you the minute you sign up.
Ooh, Mark Rondeau might find himself overtaken by BJ Fulton. The 423 has caught up to the 11. There you can see them coming down into Murray's corner. Only 2 laps to try and get this done, so BJ cannot dilly-dally.
No, he cannot. He's got to get a move on here. 0.5 of a second behind as they cross over the line. I think here at this point that BJ is going to probably have a pretty good run going down the mountain straight. Let's see what he gets. Jacob Abrams has come back down into pit lane here at this point. Looks like BJ's actually fallen back a little bit coming down the mountain straight. So that draft effect not going to be as strong as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I wonder if he just had a bad exit or what there. Strange to see him fall away from him so quickly, or maybe just Rondeau is very good off the corners. As they now climb the hill, he's going to have to wait patiently, because not likely to be able to get an overtake through here. Getting a little bit of cloud cover as well recently, so hopefully that helps them on their way up the hill to have some better visibility without that sun glaring in their eyes. With about a minute left, Tom Layton comes to the start-finish line and is ready to take the white flag for 1 to go to make it 15 wins here in a moment, as long as he keeps it safe up and down the mountain one more time.
Easier said than done, but if anybody can do it, I think it could be Tom Layton here at this point. Layton has looked very, very good today. And I think he's backing off a little bit. You can see just how, let's say, passive he was there, coming up and over the curving on the exit of Hell Corner. Looked like he didn't want to push the car too hard.
And the gap down to Corey Lottville is about 9 seconds. That, I think, averages out at about 0.3 of a second to every minute, I want to say. So that would be 0.6 of a second every lap on average that Layton has been quicker than Corey Lottville. That tells you just how quick this 97 car has been in today's race. That is impressive stuff. That's the average that he's been quicker over Corey Lottville, if I'm doing that correctly. So as he comes up through the various parts, and it's going to be literally all downhill from here.
Yes, it will, but we haven't really talked about just how difficult of a strain it is, not only on the driver, but on the car coming down here through Skyline and the S's and the Dipper. You are fighting the weight of gravity to get that car slowed down. Very easy to lock up the fronts, but it looks like Layton has been able to manage that absolutely perfectly.
Yep, that was probably the last real serious spot there. He's past the street course portion out of Forest Elbow, and he can really take his time, honestly, coming down through the chase. Yeah, it's come down to 8.7 seconds now, so I'm pretty sure he is indeed just going that little bit easier around the lap this time. He doesn't want to throw away what is basically a guaranteed win from here. And I can report, wow, Fulton managed to go by Rondeau on the mountain portion. We'll have to look at that a little bit later. In the meantime, Tom Layton, as the 11 actually went around, it appears, Tom Layton is going to take his 15th win of the season at the mountain.
And I dare say this is going to be one of the more impressive ones he has able to do, being able to keep everything together nice and clean. A great run for Tom Layton and a very good run here for P2, Corey Lottville.
Johnson manages to finish third, about 2 seconds behind, and Ost was never able to recover that third place where he began this race. Jad Duncan and Michael Bolton going to share that hard charger with fifth and sixth, both of them up 4 from where they began. What if we could take a look at the replay of that pass of Fulton on Rondeau? I know it wound up being somewhat meaningless since Mark had an incident a little bit later, but I guess being ahead of him was going to wind up important. So this comes out of the cutting, and a big smack into the wall. And with him being slowed up, he took the risk of going side by side. That was brave stuff from BJ to make that happen.
Yeah, very gutsy indeed there, and I think a little bit of the aero wash potentially catching out the number 11, and that's what could have just sent him around. But a tough break there for the 11 of Mark Rondeau, but a great heads-up move for BJ Fulton.
Mark's going to try and limp it home to be the last one on the lead lap. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike.
My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride, and he looked at me and just said, "Dad, don't be a moron."
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect.
How's it going, Sally? Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going?
Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings where they go into the top and the spiders in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me.
Freezing.
And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
Welcome back to Mount Panorama Circuit as what has become a bit of an iRacing tradition to try and launch yourself over the chase. Some drivers have been a little bit less than successful, but hey, BJ Fulton managed to get it as he celebrates. Tom Layton, though, was your winner here today. Corey Lotvilla finishing second behind him. And Michael Johnson in third, keeping his hopes alive for second in the points, but needs to work hard to try and get up there. Michael Ost was P4. Jan Duncan was fifth. After that, it was Michael Bolton in sixth today, the last driver to not visit pit lane. Doug Boccione P7, BJ Fulton eighth, and Mark Rondeau ninth. Abrams and Molmeyer were both a lap or two down, and Brian Salehi was a DNF today, unfortunately. Let's take a chat with Tom, see what he thought of this race, and if he ever felt it was in doubt, because it certainly didn't look like it once he managed to break that toe. Tom, it seemed once you had gotten away from Corey and broke the slipstream that he really didn't have much answer for you.
Yeah, he was really putting pressure on me there at the beginning. I was surprised at how he can follow me there so closely. That's so difficult. I was trying to follow some people back in practice, and I didn't even make it halfway through that top section before I hit a wall somewhere. So, yeah, that was a fun battle for a little while.
Yeah, and that top section, always a bit of a concern at this track, just gobbled up a lot of drivers today. About half of them had to come to pit lane due to damage and wrecks. How much of a margin were you leaving for yourself? Were you backing it off to 99% or something like that, or were you just full tilt?
I was mostly full tilt. I think toward the end, I kind of realized that it's a little bit too dangerous, but yeah, I was going about 100% the whole time.
You're up to 15 wins out of 23 races. It's some really amazing stats this season. Your highest total is going to be 17. You think you can reach that number in those last two rounds?
Hopefully, but I'm just looking to have fun and have some good races. So I'm looking forward to the long race at Sebring next week.
We are as well. Congratulations on another win, and hopefully we'll get to chat with you down in Florida.
All right. Thanks, guys. And I'd just like to thank my sponsors, FR Sport, for their support, and thank my wife for her support too.
Great stuff there. That's Tom Layton, your winner here today. DJ, though, has caught up with Corey Lotvilla, who did manage at least a second place to keep himself out of reach from those that might want that second in the championship.
Yeah, Corey, looked like a pretty good drive for you out there, and I've got to say, anytime you can walk away from Bathurst unscathed is a pretty good day, at least in my book.
Oh, no joking. Yeah, I was able to hold next to Tom while I was in his draft and pushing pretty hard, but I can't keep it up. I don't know how he does it. I'm gonna crash the car if I try to keep hanging with him like that.
Well, it looked like you did have a couple of little bit scary moments out there, particularly one with John Momeyer coming across the track on you. Talk me through that and talk to me about being able to hold everything together.
I don't even know if I saw that. Was it in front of me?
Yeah, it was right in front of you, I think.
I probably just tunnel vision. Probably didn't even see it, but he's usually pretty good if anything happens like that, staying out of the way, but yeah.
Well, and we are officially getting math by our statisticians, and we are being told that you have officially been able to lock up second place in the championship. That's got to feel good.
Oh yeah, that feels good. All right, next race, I promise I'll as hard as I can, I'll go for Tom.
Well, I wish you luck, Corey, and we'll see you down in Florida. But as for today, who makes this possible?
Thanks. Dave at Schmidt Racing. We're going to lunch Wednesday. I'll see you there. My family and friends, Kelly, my little buddy Riley, my little nephew, parents, and yeah, that's it. Thanks.
All right, well, thank you, Corey. That was Corey Lotvilla, your second place finisher and second place in the championship.
Next, we have third Michael Johnson today, but not third in qualifying. Still fourth place. I have to admit, Michael, since that's usually one of the places where you admit yourself that you're a bit weak, that fourth was a nice result.
I was sitting second for a while and kind of rested on my laurels, was goofing off instead of trying to improve on the time. And, well, it kind of bit me. But being in fourth place, I knew I was where I wanted to be. I wanted to be on the right side. So I either wanted to be in second or fourth. I did not want to be in third, because coming up into turn 2, you really need to have that inside. The outside is a terrible place to be right there.
Yeah, I can very much understand that. Still a very nice start that got you that third place, and then you never, well, I shouldn't say you never gave it up. Michael Ost managed to get by you at least once, and then once you repassed him, you seem to have it pretty solidly. We saw a number of people that did get collected in other people's wrecks, though. Was that something that was kind of sitting in the back of your mind for much of today's race?
Well, yeah, I was really hoping that either Corey or Tom would catch a wall a little harder than either one of them did. But yeah, they're just too good of drivers for that to happen. Ost and I were having a very nice little battle there. He got around me, and I wasn't going to defend it too hard. It was way too early in the race to put up too much of a fight. And I figured, well, I'll get the draft and come back around him, which I was able to do because he ultimately messed up turn 1. And that really set me up for a really good position to be able to pull away once I was able to shake him out of my draft. And then, unfortunately, that let Corey get away. And I think right at the end, Corey and I were just lockstep. I could not turn a faster lap. He couldn't go faster. We were just making time, being a metronome. And I think if we hadn't had that little back and forth between me and Ost, we probably would have had a 3-way battle for second at the end.
Now, and I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news on this one, but I was looking through the stats
I did
during
the math.
Well, no.
Oh.
I'm not talking about the lockup for second, because I know if we, I guess, pulling the curtain back for everybody else, we can communicate with Michael behind the scenes, so he already saw us report on that about the second place. But you're fighting obviously Travis Brown and Michael Bolton. For that third place as well. Now, Travis has missed a lot. So even though he's a lot closer to you, or did coming into this race, this is only the third race in the last 12 that you've outscored Michael Bolton. I think you might need to be looking over your shoulder a bit.
Well, I have myself to blame on that, because right when Michael started making it to the podium is right when I started coaching him. Literally the very first week I coached him, he ended up on the podium. And I've had a string of really, really bad races. Something happens here and there. I get caught up, end up in a spin. I was having these weird issues where the car would come around inexplicably. And even from first place, I remember at Laguna Seca, I was holding on to first place and the rear end came around on me for absolutely no reason. So I had some weird stuff going on for a little while, but hopefully all those gremlins are gone. And I will just have to be my professional self and make sure Bolton does really well and try to keep him in the hunt too. And I think he and I are going to have some pretty fun battles over the next 2 weeks, or two races.
Well, again, congratulations on a podium. This was a very well-earned, classy drive from you. Anybody you want to thank?
Big shout out to Jason at Truffle Shuffle. He and I talked today. Showed him pictures of the new livery. Got them nice, big, bold across the side. So if you're looking for a place to or a way to do a holiday party for folks who are like the way we've been working the past few years, everybody's kind of remote. Fantastic way. Get to cook with a Michelin star chef. They send you all the food. Everybody gets their own food packets, and you cook. And it's a party, and they have drinks and all kinds of stuff. It is a blast. I've done 4 or 5 of them now, and it's just an absolute blast. And the food is amazing. So big shout out to Truffle Shuffle, of course, T-Mobile for Business for all they do for me, as well as Simply, and you guys, of course, for putting on such a great show.
Well, thank you very much. That was Michael Johnson, third place today here at Bathurst. And that's going to close us out with a big thank you to our sponsors, which of course includes Porsche. There is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And Sunset Mortgage. Don't put your money in the bank. Be the bank. Check them out today at sunsetcash.net. And Octavio Tequila. Celebrate now. For a great tasting tequila, go to OctavioTequila.com and purchase today. And finally, Rogers Financial. You retire once, we retire people every day. For all of your financial planning needs, contact Rogers Financial today at rogersfinancial.info. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Zach, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. Next time, as was mentioned, will be Sebring for the penultimate round for their enduro, their last one of the season, Monday, December 12th at 11 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to check out our other broadcasts listed here. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.